Hello everyone, welcome to another edition of Sector 5. I'm your host, as always, Cody the Hangman Heinzman. And it is now almost 12 o'clock, which means Battleground just ended. And I'm here to give the Battleground rundown. Now, first things first. I had mentioned before that if new matches were added, that I would be doing potentially a part 2 on Thursday. Come Friday, I remembered that I was going to do that. And it wasn't until, I think Saturday that I actually remembered to look. So, there was only one match that was added that, after I looked, it said, this kind of doesn't justify it. So, from here on out, I'm going to look more towards, if there's one or two, well, not one. If there's 2 or 3 more matches added, I will add the part 2. But for one match, it's easy to just kind of slip it into this review here. So we'll go ahead and get started with the review now for Battleground. With also this precursor, remember, I did do 2 predictions on this. I did a pre-draft and a post-draft. So in the link in the description will be a link to both of them if you want to check them out. So let's get started. So the one match that I did not talk about in either predictions because it was added later to the kickoff was Usos versus Breezango. Winner of this match is Breezango. And once again, to quickly add in this, going in order of non-title matches and title matches, so there's that. So again, Usos versus Breezango. Breezango took the win. Both superstars being on, both tag teams being on SmackDown. So that's a big push for those tag teams that are both going to be facing each other probably more as the weeks go on. Next up, we're going to talk about the highlight reel with Randy Orton. Of course, Randy Orton was talking about his SummerSlam match against Brock Lesnar, and it's looking like we are going to see Randy Orton's first match be against Brock Lesnar. He's not going to be on doing any matches on SmackDown in that, which is what I kind of wanted to see. I wanted to not see Randy Orton be in any match until he faces Brock Lesnar, being first match that they've had in a while on WWE. Back to back, and it makes it more harder to predict a bit. But that's for SummerSlam. Let's continue on. The other thing about that is Randy Orton did RKO Chris Jericho. It was a good time. It was a good segment that they did. Back to matches. We have Natalya versus Becky Lynch. Winner of this match was Natalya. Becky Lynch kind of got injured a little bit. I mean, there's a lot of slip-ups to talk about on this. But, yeah, Becky Lynch, injured knee in that. But, of course, that's nothing that won't be gone come the next time. Next up, we had Charlotte and Dana Brooks versus Sasha Banks and Bayley. This is where the first instance of... Oh, and also Bayley. Bayley was Sasha Banks' tag team partner. I didn't really hype that up to where it was. Sasha Banks didn't have a tag team partner till this, and they chose Bayley. Does that mean she's coming up? It does not sound like it. It sounded like this was a one-time WWE presentation for Bayley, and then she's going to go back to NXT for a while. So there's that. And during the match, I think this was, if it was scripted this way, it was well scripted, but it didn't really look like it. Bayley was up on the top rope, and Charlotte came to pull her down. It looked like it was supposed to be one of those pull and they fall onto the mat. She hit her head off the back of the top turnbuckle and then hit the ground. So that's a little instant of things probably didn't go the way it was planned, but she was fine. And the winner of that match was Sasha Banks and Bayley. That kind of surprised me a bit. But there's that. Next up, New Day versus the Wyatt family. I guess to back up a bit because I've been forgetting about the draft and everything. To go back to Natalya versus Becky Lynch, they're both on SmackDown, so we'll probably see a little bit more with that. Charlotte, Dana Brooks, Sasha Banks, and Bayley. As I said, Bayley, this is a one-time thing, and then she's going to be back in NXT. But Charlotte, Dana Brooks, and Sasha Banks are all on Raw, so Sasha Banks versus Charlotte probably in the near future for the title. So there's that. New Day versus the Wyatts. This is the last time we're going to see the Wyatts together. Because New Day, we'll see them for a while. They're on Raw. The Wyatt family, we have on Raw, Braun Strowman. And on SmackDown, we have Bray Wyatt and Eric Rowan. So, we might still see Eric Rowan and Bray Wyatt being together. They're really pushing towards the fact that they're gonna be singles competitors in that, but we'll just have to see. But on to the winner of this match was the Wyatt family. The Wyatt family did ultimately pick up the win for their final outing together. Next up, we had Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn, both on Monday Night Raw. This was supposed to be their big ending of their rivalry, where they made it sound like we were going to have one of them on Raw, one of them on SmackDown, and they're both on Raw. So, who knows if this is really going to be the end of their rivalry. But this is the other instance of something went bad. Sami Zayn is known to bounce off of ropes and everything, and he has done this before. Been able to bounce off the top rope, like in the center of the rope, and go out into the ring. Well, he tried to do that, and he bounced and flipped back, but he didn't get the arc that he needed, and he just kind of fell onto the ringside. They played it off as he got the hit off as well, but he didn't really get he didn't get what he wanted. So, there was that. But the winner of this match was Sami Zayn. So, whether or not this is going to be the end of their rivalry, if they're going to put it aside, who knows? If they do it one more time, my thought that they should really do, if they're going to do it one more time, and this be the true end, they should make it Last Man Standing. So, if this is the end, it's the end. But don't be surprised if on Raw, Sami Zayn's taped up because of the bad fall he did. Last of the non-title matches, we had John Cena, Enzo, and Cass versus The Club. Enzo put a good show on. He put the usual thing that they do at the beginning where Enzo just kind of makes a thing. I love that the 4G. The 4G was beautiful. But there's that. The other thing about this, Cena, SmackDown, Enzo and Cass are on Raw. Versus The Club, where AJ Styles is on SmackDown, and you got Anderson and Gallows on Raw. Which means this is the last time we're going to see The Club together for a while. So, who won this match was actually John Cena, Enzo, and Cass, and it was a good match. It was a really good match, back and forth and everything, bodies everywhere, and it was a match. It was a good match to end both this. And of course, you got John Cena and AJ Styles on SmackDown, so we're gonna see more of that. And kind of hope we see a little bit more of, maybe not too much more, but a little bit more of Cass and Enzo versus the club. So, on to title matches. We had Darren Young versus The Miz for the Intercontinental Championship, and there was not really a winner to this match. We had Bob Backlund and Maurice on the outside. And Maurice slaps Bob Backlund eventually. And then she does her, typical thing of like, oh no, I injured myself. Ah. And then The Miz goes out, pushes Bob Backlund. Darren Young goes out, puts the chicken wing thing on, and they instantly call for the bell there. So they didn't declare a winner, so I just put this down as a tie. Of course, that means Miz is still your Intercontinental Champion, which makes sense because of the next match. The United States Championship was Rusev versus Zack Ryder. They did this match first, which easily made it easy to figure out who's going to win the Intercontinental Championship. Because, as I said on the post draft predictions, the Intercontinental Championship's got to be on one side, and the United States Championship's got to be on the other side. And this is where it became interesting. You had Rusev from Raw and Darren Young from Raw. Rusev on one match and Darren Young on the other. Versus Zack Ryder, who was Rusev versus Zack Ryder for the United States Championship. Zack Ryder being SmackDown, Miz being Intercontinental Champion on SmackDown as well. So, after Rusev versus Zack Ryder, Rusev retained the title. Zack Ryder put up a good fight. It was a good match. But Rusev ultimately won. Which easily made it known that Darren Young was not taking the Intercontinental Championship. Because the Intercontinental Championship's got to be on SmackDown or Raw. And the United States Championship had to be on SmackDown or Raw. So it's now defined that the United States Championship is on Monday Night Raw. Intercontinental Championships on SmackDown. Just like it was before. Which leads us to the final match of the night. We had Ambrose versus Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns for the WWE Championship. Winner of this match and still your WWE Champion, Dean Ambrose. Which ultimately makes sense. Because with this, we all know that most likely, I'm saying most likely, but it's well known that the World Heavyweight Championship has to make a return some way, somehow. So that Monday Night Raw has their title. And it made sense that Dean Ambrose held onto the title because you had Dean Ambrose, who was SmackDown, versus Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns, who are Monday Night Raw. This makes it easy to just, next pay-per-view, Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns for the World Heavyweight Championship. And I'm already thinking ahead who might face Dean Ambrose as well. Dean Ambrose, I'm thinking we might see Ambrose versus Cena versus AJ Styles for WWE Championship. That's just my thoughts for that. So, all in all, Battleground was a good pay-per-view. And it's going to be interesting to see what goes on from here on out. Being a pay-per-view that was set up before the draft, and you had all these competitors that were going one way or the other, did it make it a little bit more predictable to decide who was going to do what? Yes. But all in all, they put on a good show. And I can't wait to see what happens from here on out. So as always, I'm Cody Huntsman. That's just how it is. Hello again. I know I ended the video already, but I forgot to mention that I realized whenever I was doing all this, whenever I was writing it down while watching the pay-per-view, I realized that I didn't, on my predictions, do what I usually do and put in the description the order that I talked about the matches and everything. So in the review below, along with the links to the predictions, will be the rundown of the matches from this pay-per-view. Probably since I did 2 predictions and everything, it just kind of slipped my mind, and so I'm sorry about that. So there's that. And that's once again the end of this video. As always, I'm Kurt the Hangman Huntsman. That's just how it is.